Let's run this same conversation back for the Steelers defense when we return to round out this first hour of the drive here on this Tuesday. Uhler, Williamson, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. I enjoy these kind of exercises, Matt. These are fun off-season conversations. Going through.
It's the way you have to do it a little bit. And it's jarring because it's not the way everybody views it, you know?
Yes, and I think it kind of outlines where you're at, what you still have ahead of you, and where you can be looking for the Steelers to invest their remaining salary cap money, draft capital, all those different things on down the list.
And I'm sure there's some listeners like, wow, this is worse than I thought.
Yeah.
Like, no, this is how every team is.
I bet you.
If you did Miami's, you'd be like, oh, my gosh.
Right. And now someone like the Broncos, for example, might have a little more continuity.
A little more stable, a little fewer spots available.
You know, the Rams, teams like that might have a little more fewer spots available.
For sure.
But for the most part, this is the boat that people are in this time of year. So if you're just joining us, Matt and I going through the Steelers roster. Who is on the roster right now would we say is guaranteed a roster spot?
That's a big statement.
Which is a pretty significant statement.
Yeah.
And again, as we sit here today, this is all subject to change.
Sure,
but for today, Tuesday, March 17th, we came up with 16 names on the offense.
Who do we strongly feel is guaranteed a roster spot? There we go.
That's the best way to put it. Now let's run this same exercise back on defense. Matt, are you okay? Can we just lump the defensive line in together, or do you want to different, like defensive line and edge?
Let's lump them because they keep.
I don't think we need to do like end or tackle or nosy.
No. Just
the true defensive line.
Just call them D tackles.
Yes,
you're right.
And then we'll do the edge guys
And frankly,
separately.
This latest signing shows more and more. And we talked about the arm length and the height. They differentiate between D end and nose much less than ever. So just call them D tackles.
I think that's perfect.
Yeah. And they usually keep 7, and this is going to be a little full. This one's going to be a little fuller than you think.
I think so.
Yeah.
Cam Hayward, duh.
In.
Derek Harmon, duh.
Yeah.
Keanu Benton, duh.
Yep.
Sebastian Joseph Day, who they just signed.
All 4 of those are guaranteed.
And Y.A. Black.
I think he's 99%. He'd have to fall on his face and have a terrible camp.
So that's 5.
Yes.
Odomweo count? I don't think so.
I think him and Logan Lee actually count combined as like a half. Like they both could make it, you know, and that could be they could be done. You know what I mean? I know that's a weird way to look at it.
No, but I get what you're saying. We'll do like a 5 + 1.
You would love to like draft one in the 3rd round that is guaranteed, and those two fight for the last spot. And if somebody gets hurt,
that would be great.
That's what you ideally want. And they both play unbelievably well, and the world's, you know, rainbows and unicorns galore. But neither one's definitely guaranteed. But they have at least one foot in the door.
They're sitting in a better pole position than you know
many of the names
than many of the names.
Yeah, than any of these other names will bring up at D-line too.
Correct.
For sure.
Kyler Baha and Anthony Goodlow and some of these guys that are on futures contracts.
Yeah, I know who they are.
And when Matt Williamson doesn't know who you are, that's usually not the greatest sign.
Yeah, you got to do something.
So we go 5 + 1 to be 6. I think that's fair.
I would say.
I
bet
fair.
one of those two makes the team, maybe both.
Unless they go and draft multiple defensive linemen,
which would be rare,
which
too.
would shock me, especially after signing Joseph Day.
Right, that's why I like the Joseph Day signing so much better. Is that room got pretty solid, and because I don't like the D tackle draft, that's why they did it.
That's right. It's all starting to come into focus.
This is not an accident. Yeah.
Edge rushers 4: TJ, Highsmith, Herbig, Sawyer.
And they usually keep 4. Sometimes there'll be a 5th if he's really good on teams, a Moon or somebody like that. But those 4 are going to make the team.
Yes. Welshoff still under a futures deal.
And he's been around a little bit.
And KJ Henry under a futures deal. Those are the 2.
Okay. So there's a spot for another, but then you'd have to like steal from an inside linebacker or a safety or something like that probably. And you don't have to go 25-25-3.
No.
You know, it's not always that way.
No.
Yeah.
And in fact, I would imagine that could potentially change because a big part of that was the Steelers kept 4 tight ends last year, and now they included Connor Hayward as tight end fullback.
Yeah.
4 active on the initial 53. I don't know if that'll be the case.
But I bet they take one more receiver.
Put up the wide receiver.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. But you could live with 5 wideouts.
True linebackers, off-ball linebackers, as the kids like to call them nowadays. Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson, Cole Holcomb, Carson Bruner. That's 4.
Harrison's still on the team.
Harrison's still on the team, but I'm not. I don't know.
I can't say he's a yes.
I don't think he's a yes like those other 4 are.
I feel less and less strong about this, but I didn't think he'd ever be on the team this long.
I think it's a Cordero Patterson type situation.
It is.
We don't need the money. Why would we put him out there? We could always change our mind, or somebody could get hurt, or something could happen, or the draft board doesn't fall the way that we think it's to, and we don't get the linebacker in the 4th round that we had a 3rd round grade on.
It's all rumor and speculation, but if there were talks about trading Queen, well, then we're pretty happy we at least have Harrison around. Like, I'm not saying Queen's not part of this. He definitely should be. Bruner's kind of a half, too. Like, I don't think he's guaranteed to make the team. I mean, he's a 7th round pick last year. That looks like your next great special teamer.
That's the only thing to me is you've lost so much of your special teams.
I strongly, it wouldn't pay very much to say, does Bruner make the team or not? $300 pays you like $20. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, I think he will, but if you get to crunching time and it's like somebody's got to go, and he's our 5th linebacker because we love the guy in the 4th round that we couldn't believe are there. The top 3 are definite.
Yeah.
The Holcomb contract.
Do we do kind of like we did with the defensive linemen with the tackles, where we say of Bruner and Harrison, one of those guys, so we'll count them as one?
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Is that fair?
With Bruner being the much more likely.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
So we'll count 4 for that position. I think that's fair.
And you could keep 5.
Certainly.
Especially if Bruner.
Certainly.
Because I don't think you want Bruner on the defense. You know, he's like keeping Killebrew.
We are in lockstep there.
Yeah.
Cornerback. Joey Porter Jr. Well, actually, let me ask you this: where are we counting? We counting Ramsey as a corner?
Yeah, but I think more and more they're going to fudge those numbers a little bit, which is kind of the benefit of him.
For this,
maybe should we just do defensive backs? But safeties are a lot different.
I guess think for this exercise, it doesn't matter as much because it's just it's the pure numbers.
Like, I bet they keep 10 defensive backs
between the two.
6
and 4,
maybe 9. They kept 10 off him with Killebrew. Well, let's call Ramsey a corner for the fun.
Okay.
Of it.
So,
but I think we can say these things. But like, they supposedly brought in Jalen Johnson in for a visit today, or not Jalen Johnson, Chris Johnson. Who would be an early 2nd round pick, and he's a strict outside corner. If they plan on drafting a strict outside corner, he's going to make the team, especially an early 2nd round pick, and they might view Ramsey as a safety. So this one's still, if you've noticed, every time we have a beat reporter on or anyone around the team, I'm like, what do you think Ramsey is?
What do you think about Ramsey?
Yeah, right. And maybe the answer is we don't have to know now.
I think that is certainly.
Which is kind of cool.
Certainly fair.
But he's going to make the team.
Maybe
he's his own category.
So let's. Yeah, maybe we should just do this as defensive backs, all kind of lumped in as one. But let's let's count Ramsey as a corner for now and do it that way. So Ramsey, Joey Porter Jr., Jamel Dean, Brandon Eccles, Asante Samuel. That's 5.
Those 5 are making the team.
Yes. I think that's the number for me. I'm not counting Trice. I'm not counting Dante Kent.
That's why I think that they might not draft one.
They might. If they truly view Ramsey as a corner, he's going to be that big slot, that big nickel. Then I don't think that they'll draft him.
Right.
Because they'll say we have Dante Kent, we have Corey Trice. Right. We'll let those guys battle it out for potentially the last spot if we think one is capable.
Trice they still love. It's just, do we trust him? Kent did nothing wrong. I mean, I don't think they lost faith in him, but maybe this coaching staff doesn't like him as much. You know, he does have some special teams value. I mean, you could go to camp with just that group basically and not draft one.
Yeah,
I bet. I mean, if they end up if they make 10 picks, I bet they take one on the 6th or 7th round. But it's also odd to me that they brought in a guy that's a high pick for a visit. You know,
it's you're reading the tea leaves.
Yeah, right.
And then. So we'll go 5 for corner, counting Ramsey there. And then if we go safety, Deshaun Elliott.
In.
Jaquan Brisker.
In.
That might be it at this point.
Right. I know Savage has been thrown out there, but he's not officially on the team.
Until it's officially announced by the team, we're going to leave it there.
He's had a weird career. I'm not even sure he'd be guaranteed a roster spot. Before we'd even comment that, I would like to.
Sebastian Castro, he'll be in the mix, but he's certainly not guaranteed. Yeah.
They should probably draft a safety, even if they look at Ramsey as safety only. He's never going to play the slot again in his life. I think you have to draft a safety.
All right.
And it's a great safety draft, and there's a lot of speed there to draft from, and that'll also be a special team guy, you would hope.
21 in total we have there for the defense.
How many defensive backs total?
5 corners, 2 safeties, 7 total.
Okay.
That is, again, with Ramsey as a corner, but you could flip-flop them and make it 4 and 3 instead of 5 and 2.
So, super quick conversation. The 3 specialists.
Kuntz
and Boz are in. Johnston or another punter is in. They're only going to keep 3. Yeah, you know it's going to be 3 no matter what.
Yes.
You know, maybe they bring in an undrafted punter or a 7th-round punter or something like that, but who cares?
So that's in total,
Not
Matt.
going to keep them both.
In total, that's 40.
But there was a lot more defense than offense, right?
16 compared to 21, which I think
makes a big difference.
Which I think makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a veteran established defense with a lot of guys that, have been all pros, are going to go to Canton one day.
We know there's more money invested on that side of the ball.
There's more money invested on that side.
Yeah.
You've had recent like your first-round pick was a defensive lineman last year.
Yeah. The guys that are guaranteed to make the team, the Bentons and Porters and those guys too.
Exactly
They're
right.
kind of like the Fraziers and Faltanus.
Exactly right.
So what this tells us is there are room for more things. I mean, you could certainly add somebody else in free agency, a guard, or you could even add a Christian Kirk, Calvin Austin-like wide receiver at the right price 2 weeks from now. But I also think it's pretty safe to say it's going to be an offensive-heavy draft.
Yes.
I think we know that. I mean, by doing this exercise, you know that. I don't know how many picks they'll make. I still don't think they'll make 12, even though they could conceivably get all 12 on the roster. But that's a tight squeeze.
So if we, by that list now, 40 names out of 53 plus a practice squad. So that's still a lot of spots up for grabs.
That's a lot of new Steelers that are in the horizon.
A lot of spots up for grabs.
Yeah, there really are. And again, you'll grab 2 or 3 guys, maybe even more, post-draft that people have heard of. Like Joe Hayden came then. I mean, usually doesn't go that well.
That's a little bit of an outlier, but still. Yeah.
But
it's a fair example.
Every year they've added 2 or 3 veterans that have had 5 or 6
Who was the
careers.
Couple years ago during training camp traded for the linebacker that was with?
I said there was a lot of linebackers.
Was with the Browns, and it was Schobert. Was that his last name?
Yeah.
Right?
Joe Schobert.
Joe Schobert was with the Browns, and then the Jags. The Steelers traded for him in training camp.
Plenty of examples, right?
Yeah.
I remember
Vance McDonald was added during the Vanimal was added during training camp from San Francisco.
Yeah.
So. But that's a lot. As much as there's a lot of established guys, there's still a lot of seats left in the musical chairs equation.
Yeah. So I guess between now and between now and training camp, you and I will introduce 15 new Steelers. Yeah. Not everyone that'll definitely make the team, but 15 that are either drafted or free agents or something. And unfortunately, when you get to the final cuts, you're going to put 3 of these guys on IR, unfortunately, or 2 of them. You hope it's not Watt, Metcalf, and Ham.
Right. Don't even say that.
Right. Not, right. And some of them, sometimes they have a hangnail and they go and injure reserve and despise you a year. But people will get hurt between now and then.
Yes.
This is not an easy game.
That's
roster building 101.
That was a fun exercise.
Yeah.
Maybe we do this again.
And you're going to get real crazy. Do this in June when we're bored. And just look who's under contract a year from now.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to revisit.
You'll be like, they have no safeties on the whole team. They're definitely drafting a safety.
We will have to revisit some version of this exercise later on in the offseason for sure.